We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glance and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. Looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was trying to chase it. But whatever it was standing up. I'm out here looking through the window now and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better. Yeah.
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
Son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's like,
Is he in your yard, sir?
yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
So the guy is on foot.
I don't know what, it's a big, real big person. That's all I can say.
Okay, but it is a person.
Yeah, I'd say it was a person, somebody really big. But he's all in black.
Is he a black male or a white male? Did you actually see what it, or was he just wearing black?
He's all black and he's big. He is big.
From the remote jungles of Clinton Falls, Indiana, this is Larry Battson as we're talking all Bigfoot. This is Friday night. We know. We're talking all about the Sasquatch Bigfoot legend already. Nice to have several folks along with us. Hello, Sherry. William, down in Morgan Monroe State Forest. Dale, nice to have you with us tonight. And, of course, Carrie and Perry Cole, who visit us on a regular basis or various broadcasts we have over here on Facebook Live. On an absolutely gorgeous night tonight. Summer is here. And I am so glad. In fact, I am so envious of William Beach being down in the wilds of Morgan Monroe State Forest on an absolutely, what I think is going to be a gorgeous weekend. Hello, Bill Harden. Nice to have you with us tonight as we talk all Bigfoot, the legend of Sasquatch. And if you have any comments or things you would like to tell us, please message us. And I'll be more than happy to share that with our audience. We always have a nice audience. It's very rewarding. Also, to remind everyone, of course, we're here to not only talk Bigfoot and maybe answer some of your questions, relate some reports and stories that I've accumulated. I can't believe it. It's 50 years. 50 years since I first became interested in this subject. Man, you know, they say time flies. It goes whoosh, quick, very, very quick. You know what we're talking about. You know, I do draw on the side, and we have our pieces that are available. They are available. Feel like something watching? Yeah. Charcoal. That's charcoal pencil. This is one of the pieces that we offer to help raise money for our animal family. Because many of you may not know this, I'm a wildlife educator. That's the reason I'm interested in this Bigfoot Sasquatch story. Because the way I feel about it, it's just another creature that exists in the forest. That's it. That's exactly the way the Native Americans feel about it. No different than the wolf, the raccoon, the deer, the mountain lion, the bear. It's all the same. It's all the same. Of course, science hasn't discovered it yet, so it can't be true. But I'm here to assure you that it is. Hello, Shannon, all the way from Arkansas. We love it when Shannon joins us here on Facebook Live. And in this one that I have to confess, this was one of the very first Sasquatch art pieces that I did. And to give you a little history of this, John Green was preparing to come to Cleveland, Ohio to do a program with us, the noted Bigfoot researcher, who's more or less the godfather of Bigfoot. And before I left, I sat down in my chair, and we were living in an apartment then. That shows you how long ago it was. And I started with the dots, and hours later, this is what arose. It did. And they are available. All the prints are available. Just message me through Facebook, either Larry Battson or Larry the Animal Guy and Friends. Hello, Daryl and Mary Jane. Nice to see you here tonight. Here on as we talk all Bigfoot. I just had a thought and I forgot what I was going to say. Boy, oh boy, that's pretty bad. But what was I going to say? It was going to be somewhat interesting, I think. Well, it'll come back to me. Hello, Annabelle, my favorite Bigfoot researcher up there from Gaston, Indiana. George, nice to have you along with us here tonight. Annabelle is quite the Bigfoot enthusiast. Says, we just got in the house from our nightly hunt. What an amazing moon tonight to get us ready for our Bigfoot talk. Good evening, Austin Lee, one of our great eyewitnesses, one of our great researchers here that we've uncovered. I know what I was going to talk about. Austin reminded me. Hello, Kathy. Our Facebook page, Footers Forum. Check it out, please. Cody Herring he's the beast behind that Facebook. I get a chance to participate on it as well. But any of the latest Bigfoot stuff, any of that, and pictures of Annabelle as well. Hello, Walt from Indianapolis, holding all of our Bigfoot souvenirs. It's fantastic. Yeah, so it's Footers Forum here on Facebook. Please put a like, because that lets us know that all this time and effort, somebody's enjoying it. Yeah, so very, very cool. Lots of videos and lots of stuff. In fact, that we've got on there a video that you may have seen on Facebook or on YouTube. But if you have not, it's Bob Gimlin at the film site in Bluff Creek, California, talking about that particular day. It's absolutely fantastic. That is on Footers Forum. Also, on the Footers Forum Facebook page, we have the television program that I did with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Yes, and it's about an hour long. It's on Footers Forum, so check it out. And please enjoy the site, because we sure have a lot of fun putting it together. You know, I've been involved with this for now, like I said moments ago, about 50 years. And I've had the opportunity to talk to so many people, so many people. In fact, there was a time in my life I thought, why hasn't this all been wrapped up? Why hasn't someone come up with what we need to say, hey, they're here, just don't worry about it. You know, the forest, they've been in the forest for years and years and years, not really presented the problem that we can see, or that we know of for sure. Well, maybe a couple, which we might get into tonight. Maybe there's one problem I can think of in northern Washington that has to be related to the Sasquatch, but we'll talk about that later. But I think it was 1977, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service issued a press release what they would do if a Sasquatch or Bigfoot was ever brought in. The body was found, part of a Bigfoot or Sasquatch was brought in or anything, what their plan of attack would be. Well, immediately, right there on the press release, it said they'd have an emergency meeting of Congress and make them an endangered species. Then the area where the body or whatever the evidence was found would be completely cordoned off by the National Guard, and no one would be allowed in or out. So they're prepared for it. In fact, that's one of the things. When I went in to do the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, of course, everybody talked about, well, you know, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service makes no acknowledgement of the Sasquatch or Bigfoot existence, and that they even hosted a program in their facility in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, in the auditorium, was monumental. In fact, John Green said that the talk that I gave that particular day was as big as the Patterson-Gimlin film in Bigfoot research, because we were getting an acknowledgement from the government that there's a possibility that they could exist. One person, one good friend of mine who we lost, gosh, I think it's been a year, but I can't believe it if it has, was Bill Duran-Guinness. Bill Duran-Guinness was one of the nicest, one of the greatest guys that I've ever met in this particular group of people that are interested in the Bigfoot Sasquatch. And he talked about he was doing research. In fact, he talked about going to a private property in the state of Virginia with 2 FBI agents. Now, they were not in the pursuit of any Sasquatch or Bigfoot, but they were hiking this property in Virginia. And as Bill put it, He said, all of a sudden, one of the FBI agents said, stop. Don't move. There's something here with us. I heard it. I can feel it. It's coming from right over there. The other agent said, yeah, I think we better back out of here. They both agreed. Well, Bill was a few feet from them. He heard it too. He heard something moving in the forest. And he saw it take up the hill. And I can still remember him telling me when he saw this thing, how big and how powerful it was. And how quickly it moved up that hill. They had seen one, but they thought there were two in the area. But when he saw how quickly it moved up that hill, he knew one thing. We were at their mercy. There's no way we could walk out of this forest if they didn't want us to. Now, the agents, of course, had weapons, powerful weapons. But they were so intimidated because they could hear the steps. And then when it bolted up that hill, with that speed, and Bill told me, he said, Larry, he said, you could see every ripple, every muscle in that animal's back. It was nothing but huge brute force. It was running through that forest, through those thickets, through those briars, like nothing was there. Nothing. And all three of them, they decided they wanted to get out of there. One of the agents said, we won't be talking about this. We'll not bring this up to anyone. Hello, Michael. We won't bring this up to anyone. Now, Bill Guinness was a Bigfoot researcher. And as far as he was concerned, this was a gold mine. This was a hot area. To go into this area and see this Sasquatch so quickly, he wanted to go back. He wanted to go back to that spot. He wanted to go back with people that were as courageous and as dedicated as he was. To go back in that area in pursuit of the Sasquatch. He knew it would not be easy. One of the tools that he was going to use in pursuit of the Sasquatch was his camera that he had developed, very similar to a game camera. Very, very similar, except that this one could be hidden even more. Gotcha Game Cam, I believe was the name of it. It could hide it even better. And I asked Bill, I said, Billy, you ought to send me one of those. I have them in my area as well. We could put one down along the creek, see what's moving up and down the water. Hello, Carrie. Nice to have you with us. But the research that he had done, he said, I've discovered something. I said, what is that? These cameras are no good. They're no good. Even my camera, which is far above the game cameras that most of us see in the sporting goods stores that we hang on trees. My camera was better than those. And the Sasquatches knew they were there. They knew they were there. I said to Bill, I said, Bill, they can smell those things, can't they? He says in his own way, God, he was witty. My God, he said, they can tell you where they were built. Think about that. They can tell you where those cameras were built. Now, we've had pictures. I've seen pictures that have been displayed on these game cameras. I've seen them. But it's just always a little bit of fur in the corner. Or maybe a shadow. Or like the photograph we saw in Pennsylvania where they couldn't decide whether it was a bear with terrible fur problems or there was actually a young Sasquatch. My problem with that picture, and you know the one I'm talking about, they gave it a name, I can't think of it right now, is also in that picture were two bear cubs. There is no mama bear anywhere that's going to let anything get close to her cubs. It's not going to happen. It won't happen. And you know, the bear has a tremendous sense of smell. And they're smart enough to know how to avoid a Sasquatch if need be. They're so intelligent. I've told you this. I was talking to a gentleman who's worked with bears and apes. He said, you know, the bear I've always thought was as intelligent as any of the apes, except they don't have the facial expressions. That's the only difference. Because I'll tell you right now, we have two black bears that I've raised since they were, my wife and I should say, have raised since they were just about 4 weeks old, and you could hold them in your hands. You can hold them in your hands. Now, 20 years later, they've grown up. When I go in with these bears, and believe it or not, I honestly think, I really have no doubt that they understand every word I say to them. Hi, Sherry. Nice to have you with us. Sherry has a comment too. Cool. About 60 years ago, I remember my dad going on a hunt for Bigfoot when they were living in Park County. That's the next county over from us. The next county west. Fallen Rock is a spot in Park County. That is a spot that is so, the habitat is so perfect, so perfect. It's like the hills of West Virginia. It's up and down, thick woods, very thick woods. It's like our property, up and down, up and down. I mean, it's like West Virginia. They like this type of habitat for one reason. Nothing can find them. What's going to chase them? Us? I don't think so. Because they are so physically superior to us. Whenever I hear a youngster say to me, he said, you know, Larry, he said, if I saw a Bigfoot, I'd track it. And I said, you would not. You would not. Because I've talked to some pretty hardcore people before that have had their encounters. And the last thing on their mind was tracking it. The first thing on their mind was, how are we going to get back to our vehicles as quickly as possible? You know, the Bigfoot Sasquatch saga is just fantastic. Just fantastic. I mean, it's one of the most interesting subjects we could ever talk about. And every one of you out there, every one of you, and I know there's lots and lots of you that now spend a lot of time in the field in pursuit of the evidence that could prove their existence. Would it be the perfect cast, the perfect track you would find? Probably not. A perfect picture? Could be, but we know the technology today in the computer age that these pictures can be a little doctored. And we've all seen the many photographs of what they call blob squatch, where just a black blob, and people are trying to tell you, can you see the Sasquatches in this picture? No, I can't see the Sasquatches in this picture. We need a clear picture, but here's what I think. I think someone has one. I think someone somewhere has this movie that would be better than the Patterson-Gimlin film. Better. I had friends in Martinsville. My friend William Beach is down in Morgan Monroe State Forest, and I've spent a lot of time in there. In fact, I remember going down there during the daytime and driving down this road, and I could see crossing the road in front of me about a 5.5, 6 foot timber rattlesnake. That's how wild it is. And I spent a lot of time at night in there collecting snakes, collecting rattlesnakes, different things. Sometimes it get really, really quiet. And you'd be sitting there on a log or something, not even hearing any mosquitoes or excuse me, crickets or any night sounds like you normally hear. Maybe the occasional owl. But when you hear some kind of ungodly call, some ungodly scream, the main man in Glacier National Park in the winter was on a wolf survey. They were going through the park, himself and other rangers, attempting to count wolves to determine how many wolves they had in Glacier National Park, which meant they spent several days in that park, 24 hours a day. Hi, Michelle. Several hours, days, weeks. They're in their tent one morning. He's with another ranger, young guy, young rookie. Never been on a wolf count before. What difficult work that would be in extreme weather conditions in Glacier National Park in the winter. And they were in their tent, getting ready to start the day. And all of a sudden, out of the mountains, ripped a sound. A sound that was so intense, a sound that was so extreme. A call. And that ranger who had spent his entire life in that park, who was the head ranger in Glacier National Park, looked at that young man next to him and he said, "Hey, load your gun." Because that sound we're hearing right now, I've never heard before. And I've lived here almost my entire life. That is from some type of unknown animal. And it sounds like it's getting closer, closer, and closer. We better be ready to move. He was actually worried. He was completely befuddled by the scream that he was hearing coming out of the mountains. You know, just south of there in Yellowstone National Park, my good friend Bob Jackson would tell me the same thing. He was a Yellowstone Park ranger. He was a super ranger. I've talked about him many, many times in this program. Benny Cudd, it'll be okay. Just turn your lights back on. See, Benny Cudd is scared. Just turn your lights back on. Oh, Benny's scared, and William Beach is sitting out in the middle of Morgan Monroe State Forest in Bigfoot country. Huh? Man, lucky guy. And he's also fighting cancer, which is pretty cool. I mean, that he's out in the forest like that. He'll be all right, though. William Beach is a big man, big tough guy. He'll be okay. But Bob Jackson, there's another tough guy. A little over 6 feet tall. Had a chance to play baseball with the Kansas City Royals. He was a pitcher. He's going to be a pitcher, but no, he decided that he wanted to do this. He wanted to be a park ranger. He wanted to be working in some place phenomenal like Yellowstone National Park. And I asked him, what was your first thoughts when you went to Yellowstone? He says, unbelievable place. He says, I wanted to do my job so good so there would be no reason for me to ever leave. And he did it well. He arrested more poachers in Yellowstone than all the rangers combined. He knew that park like the back of his hand because he would spend months and months and months on patrol, wading through that deep snow and amongst the grizzly bears. And he would find out later, also amongst the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, because he saw it. He'd heard about it. Got his interest. He didn't want to give up too much, though. He talked to people kind of like when he would question a suspect, killing elk illegally and not taking out the head, or just taking out the heads and antlers and leaving the carcass for the bears, which is against the law. How they were creating a bait for those bears. The young bears were learning that every time they heard a gunshot, follow that sound and they'll more than likely be your food. But when you get people and bears together, that's never good. But Bob Jackson, he would listen. He would listen. He would listen to the people that worked on the trail crews. He listened to other naturalists. And the things that they told him about that they would hear. But that day he was on patrol. And he watched a Sasquatch stalk a deer. Changed it all. Changed it all. He is so endearing. And when he told me, Larry, they're very rare. I mean, he said he doesn't think there's a lot of them. Just out of curiosity, I asked him, for those people that live out in the West, I said, where do you go in Yellowstone? Pursuit of Bigfoot. He just, as a matter of fact, said, Table Mountain. Table Mountain, that's the spot. That's where everybody stays out of. Because people have had these run-ins, these sightings. An eyewitness is supposed to be not very good when you're doing a court trial, because people see things and think about it differently. But when somebody tells you that they were leaning up against a tree, it was such a beautiful day that they said, we've been up so early. He said, I just fell asleep. I was sitting next to that tree and leaned up against it like a hard chair. I just fell asleep. And as I'm sleeping there with my rifle in my lap, something woke me up. Something woke me up. Because the moment I opened my eyes, two of them, walked right by me and didn't even look. So I looked up, and there were these two 8-foot beings, these creatures, covered with fur or hair. And they just acted like they didn't even notice me. Like they didn't even have any idea I was laying there sleeping against that tree. That's what he thought. Then he's watching them walk off, and just about the time they walk into this heavy briar patch. Very dense, very thick. One of them turned around, looked him right in the eye. He knew at that moment. They knew he was there. But they didn't care. Did not care. They knew that they were in no danger, even though the man had a rifle. Something told them they were not in danger, because that one turned back around and continued their walk into that thicket, and they were gone. There was an instance. When given the opportunity, they did not track him. He did not track them. He had no desire to follow them. Maybe that's why that one decided to turn around and look him right in the eye, to tell him that in their own special way. Hello, Abe. Hello, Michael Moran. The squad has arrived. Cryptid Squad on Facebook. Check them out. Fantastic page. Lots of great information. Also, while you're doing that, check out Footer's Forum. That's also on Facebook. And that's run by Cody Herring, and I contribute to it. Try to. Also want to remind everyone, it's commercial time, about our prints that we have available. Sasquatch, this particular print, pen and ink. This is available. Just message me through Facebook, either Larry Battson or Larry the Animal Gun and Friends. And if you're not a member of Larry the Animal Gun and Friends, I encourage you to join, because we have lots of great stuff about animals. I've said this before. The only reason I talk about this is feel like something watching? Yeah. The only reason I talk about these Sasquatches, because it's another animal, another thing, like the wolf, the deer, the bear, raccoon, fox, snake, bird, just like all of them. So highly intelligent, highly intelligent. And they use an ability that we have and we don't use it. It's called telepathy. Where they can basically, when you walk into the forest, they know immediately what's on your mind, what you're up to. Jane Jeffers was an anthropologist in the state of Pennsylvania, and I had a chance to talk to her many times. In fact, she had written, along with her cohort, Paul Johnson, a book called Pennsylvania Bigfoot. And I talked to Jane, and she told me about a spot that she had in Pennsylvania that was a very thick woody area, and this one road would run down through it, right through the middle of it. And she says, I know, Larry, it's alive with Sasquatches. I know it is. But here's my problem. I have never ever found anyone that would venture down that road with me at night. Nobody. What she would do is she would take sacks of apples and oranges, and she'd hang them from a tree, and she would sit in her car several yards away, motor off, lights off. She would wait. And she would wait for the Sasquatches to come out of the woods. And they would do that. She had done it so many times. So many times that she knew they would come out. But they are so perceptive that if she brought anybody along, or if she had a weapon in her car, they would not come out to take the food she left for her family. She'd experiment. She tried it several times, both ways. No gun, they'd be there. Bring a gun, they wouldn't come out of the forest. I've always said that these things are so intelligent, but the key word behind that intelligence, and the one thing that's kept them from being, let's say, completely exploited, is unpredictable. They are so unpredictable. Think about this. in the late 50s when John Green and Bob Titmus, and of course the Tom Slick expedition that took part in the northwestern part of the United States. I mean, these gentlemen had some money behind them. John Green has spent a lot of time in the field. He'd found lots of footprints. Oh, he would fly down from Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia, just to see footprints. David, you're right. They can read minds from my experience. That's very, very true. They can't. They know exactly what you're thinking about. They can look in your eyes. We have that ability too, but we do not use it. Think about this for just a moment, everybody. You're riding in a car with maybe your wife or your best friend, or your best friend is your wife, you know. And you'll be thinking about something, and all of a sudden she'll start talking about it because your thoughts she picked up on. Cheryl and I do it all the time, especially when we're around the animals. And I'll tell you something about the animals. When I walk around the tigers, the bears, the baboons, the gators, they know what kind of a mood I'm in that day. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day. They know if I feel weak, that's not good. That's not good at all. You can never appear to be weak, especially when you're in the forest, especially when you're looking for something like this. But so few researchers have ever actually had the opportunity to see them. Now, they've seen them and become researchers. But once they start becoming researchers and they visit different places and talk to these eyewitnesses, they don't see them. No. Good example was my good friend Billy Willard. Pursued the Sasquatch for years. He finally just said, heck with it. There's nothing more we can do about this. Not at all. I told a Bigfoot group once, he said, you know, when you wear camouflage, when you're on your research, quote unquote, expeditions, you're really kind of labeling yourself as a hunter, because the Sasquatch obviously knows what hunters do. They don't like it. So if you're in the forest and you've got camo on, they think you're a researcher or a hunter. That's exactly what they think. And they can hide so well. And as I say every week, and think about this, folks, think about this so intently. During the day, they share the forest. At night, they own it. When I think about Bob Jackson in his pursuit of Bigfoot, and he'd talk about the screams that would come out of the forest, or the head ranger at Glacier National Park, when they were on a wolf count, and they could hear this scream come out of the forest that he could not identify at all. I think of these recordings from Holyoke, Washington. I was told. I was just thinking, I don't know if that's telepathy or not, but I was just thinking about, hold on. Oh, by the way, the Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device. I've ignored it tonight. And tonight I'm drinking ice cold well water. Yeah, it's pretty good. I have to confess. Poor Shannon Johnson. Now you know I have to walk to my car later, Larry. She listens to the show each week and works all night. God love her. We like that. She's from Arkansas. And yes, now you have to walk to your car after you've heard that. Can you imagine hearing that? I've heard that twice. Here and in Belmont, Indiana, down by TC Steel, Nashville, Indiana. There's a lot of wild land there. I'm telling you right now. There's so much wild land. It's incredible. I can remember taking those teachers. I took a group of teachers down there. And what we were doing is we were showing them, or I was showing them different little animals that they could use in their classroom and how to take care of them. Like frogs and toads and harmless snakes, harmless lizards, of course. And I told them, I said, you know, a youngster, if he or she really loves animals, and you tell them that they get to take care of those animals if they make a really good grade on an upcoming test. It works. It works very well. It works very, very well. David says, they will not hurt you. I think she's aware of that, Shannon is, David. I just think it's, how do I put this? They can't help it. They're intimidating. You know, they're 8, 9 feet tall. They're covered with long fur. They make unbelievable sounds and have incredible strength and do things that we cannot understand. Someone said, I was following a trail, and Shannon has an active imagination. And she lives right by the woods. And, you know, it's, yeah, so it's like so darn fascinating. Every story I've ever heard, or I really can't call them stories, no, because these people absolutely believe what they have seen, and it's very sobering. Many of them don't want to believe it. I think that's why many of the conferences, these Bigfoot conferences that people attend, they want to be around people that have seen the same thing that they have seen, or will give them some input on what they saw and did. David, where are you from? You're in Gaston, I assume. He says adult males here are 12 feet average. Well, there you go. 12 feet. Now we'll get the scientists saying, okay, that's quite interesting. 12-foot animal. How does it hide so well? Well, once the sun goes down, they're invisible. David. And David's not helping at all. If a group of Bigfoot went after a group of bison, you think they only grabbed one? Michael asked, Michael Moran. Yeah, because I don't think, now, bison's a very powerful animal. You know, we've been talking about the Austin Lee watching and observing a Sasquatch take down a deer, where basically he was watching. Oh, you're in northern Missouri? Okay, all right. David's in northern Missouri. Man, 12 feet average. We need to talk sometime, David. But we've talked about them. And Austin watched one take a deer, basically just punched it in the rib cage, knocked it to the ground, and then he grabbed it by the legs and beat it up against the tree and killed it, and then carried it off underneath its arm, you know, just like that. Buffalo would be a whole different deal. I think that would be an instant where that's what we would call mutual respect. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I don't think really the Sasquatch has any desire in the northern part of North America to encounter and to uh, not fight, but have anything to do with a Kodiak or a grizzly bear. I don't think they'd have that desire. Now, I do think they would have the desire to run a Kodiak or grizzly bear off of a kill from a carcass. And that can be very interesting because the temperament of bears is like, they're very stubborn. Stubborn, yeah, it's very stubborn. David Parker says, I have some recordings. Excuse me, everybody. I have some recordings you would love to hear. I would love to hear them, David. We have to figure out a way that I can. I would love to hear them. Just like I love the Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device. No, seriously, I would love to hear those recordings. Scientists, you know, when we brought that up, the hyena, for example, the scientists that studied hyenas in Africa, they could determine what they were going to hunt that particular evening by the size of the group of hyenas were going off to hunt. What I'm trying to say is if there were 5 hyenas taking off to pursue food, they knew that they were after zebras. So I would think that if they got very hungry, the Sasquatches, and if 2 or 3 of them, large ones, would work together, they could bring down a bison. I think they could. I think they could bring down a bison. And then we look at the Yellowstone recordings. It's on the internet. Bigfoot, buffalo, Yellowstone. Just Google it if you haven't seen it. It's quite interesting. It was in the geyser area where you see the bison in the foreground, and behind them in a group of trees, there was, I think, 4 or 5. You see the images of them walking behind the bison. Not real close, but I don't know, 50 yards or so maybe. The bison didn't care. Apparently they weren't downwind. The bison didn't smell them because the buffalo, its eyesight's not all that tremendous. But that'd be an interesting. Now I honestly believe though that the Sasquatches all over this country, where there are cougars, mountain lions, pumas, panthers, whatever you want to call them, are found, that they will follow a mountain lion and wait for it to make a kill. It saves it a lot of trouble. And when that mountain lion makes that kill, he'll make that sound. Wow! With a lot more authority. Quite a bit more authority than that. And that is a signal that they have food. And the Sasquatch can move in and intimidate that cat, unless it can carry that food off. They can intimidate that cat enough, they'll leave it. They'll leave that food. Give it to them. More than one hunter. In fact, someone said I've had 2 instances where they've taken my deer when I was deer hunting. The deer was down, I'd walk up on it, out of the forest would come the Sasquatch, grab the deer, toss it up over his shoulder, and walk off through the forest with it. The one hunter told me, he says, the only reason I did not shoot that animal when it picked up my deer, because I didn't think it was an animal. Because when I looked at its face, it looked too human-like. Too human. And the size of it. I don't know if my gun would kill it or just simply slow it down and give it enough time to kill me. Don't know that for sure. You know, we were talking earlier. David, yeah, he says they've got 4 from me so far. There you go. Hey, Edward, nice to have Edward with us tonight. Bigfoot Quest, great guy. He does a wonderful podcast. You need to check it out. And as I mentioned earlier, check out Footers Forum. That's our Facebook page, and we have some good stuff on there. We absolutely do. And all of our episodes, our Friday night episodes, are on there as well. You know, it's just so fascinating. And John Green told me something one time. You know, because I was kind of, how do you put it? I was getting over it. I was losing some interest in it. Mainly, I think a lot of the times before I had, I guess I just thought, I don't think this is possible. I think this creature is got one up on us all the time. That they can hide from us. You know, it's simple. There was an area in Africa where a species of monkey was just recently discovered. Well, I'm not saying, 2 years ago? But this was an area in Africa that scientists had spent a lot of time in there, a lot of anthropologists. And only recently, I'm thinking in the last 2 or 3 years, they found a new species of monkey, South America. I was just reading just the other day in the Amazon. They have discovered a new species of titi monkey. T-I-T-I, titi monkey, new species. So, and I don't want to get in the argument whether it's man or ape, because I'm going to tell you something right now. We don't know what it is, but it's not an ape. It is not an ape. Nope. Because if it was, we would have had one by now. There would be some zoo in the country that would have those on exhibit. But how could you exhibit them? How could you contain them without putting in something so inhumane? I know they have these beautiful zoos now that have these open areas with moats and stuff. That wouldn't keep a Sasquatch in. The typical gorilla display that we've seen in zoos with the deep moats and the high walls, like at the Cincinnati Zoo and stuff, that wouldn't keep a Sasquatch in. He'd be out of that the first time. First time he had the opportunity, he'd be gone. So what are they going to do? They're going to put it behind bars? I don't think so. I don't think people will let that happen. It's just like when they now have they think they might have the DNA they could reproduce the mastodon. Why? Why would we want to do that? Have you seen the skeletons in museums of how big they were? Especially with the things about global warming that we're going through. Why would we want to put the mastodon back on this planet? I don't think it could handle it. No, I don't think people could handle it. First time they saw something like that, my gosh. It's just like, and the Sasquatch. Like I said, I don't think there's any way you could ever house one. I laughed. I know it's just for entertainment purposes. But when they had the Bigfoot show with those gentlemen, hi Jonathan, from the hills of wherever, they'd go out and they'd build these big trap saddle logs and stuff, and they'd be going through the woods at night with the rifles are rolling and their flares are flaring and out and hollering and oh my gosh, Trapper John and the rest of the boys, God love them. Oh my gosh, that's fun television. No, that's fun. I don't. It's just when you get into not finding Bigfoot, Now, that's a whole different animal. That's a whole different deal. But the mountain guys, yeah, I was. I don't even remember the name of that show. I have a problem. I can only watch little spurts of them, little bits, little tidbits, until I just realize that this is just stupid. This is just dumb. This is what we've got. Excuse me. I've got to get to the Yeti. Well water. I almost. It's just like the guy in Florida. The fellow in Florida. He attracts the Sasquatches, and he says they like beans. They love beans, northern beans, bean soup. Love it. And I'm thinking to myself, I've said this before. I says, yeah, that's what we want to do. Fill one of them up with beans, and they smell bad as it is. And wait till that hits their digestive system. Oh my God. You wouldn't be able to get out of the woods for the aroma. It would be like, whoa, my Lord. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. Sometimes I just have to laugh. Let's see if we have any comments. Oh. David Parker, you're an interesting man. I would definitely like to talk to you. But got a little announcement to make. Not a big deal. But I've got to go in for surgery Tuesday. And apparently because of science, they discovered I had cancer on my kidneys. So we have to get that taken care of. So I'm not sure how long I'll be down. I'm not sure. So I am not certain whether I'll be able to, or will I feel like I'll be able to do this program with any passion next Friday. But I'll have to see. My surgery's on Tuesday. My wife says I'm a tough old bastard. And I'll probably be okay. But I don't know for sure. So I'm not guaranteeing next Friday that we'll be able to be here. Don't know. So, because this is all new for me. And then I found out that it's a robot that does a lot of it, which is an interesting concept. Then I found out it was going to take me 3.5 hours for them to do it. So, yeah. Do you have stairs at your house? Michael asked. No, I don't. No, we don't. No stairs. So, it's all flat. It'll all be okay. Michael would know. He's dealt with this quite a bit. And I've spoken with Michael Moran several times about my situation. So he knows. He's giving me good advice. That's why I've been drinking well water. It's Mother Nature's best. Didn't you always like to go to Grandma's house in the country? You get that first nice cold drink of well water. It was the best. Michael says you will not be able to climb stairs with that kind of surgery. Well, okay, good. I have no stairs, so that's nice to know. I'm just gonna be a pain in somebody's rear like my wife's for probably too long. But I'll miss doing this next Friday. Maybe I'll have the chance to do it. I don't know. I don't want to do this without feeling my best. Close to my best, even though I still have Parkinson's. Somebody called me up and says, you don't get a break, do you? I says, no, I don't. But, yeah, so, I always feel that this Friday nights, we like to have a lot of, I'm very passionate about it, okay? I've had too many people look at me and I've told them my stuff. And then they look at me like I'm an idiot. And they might be right. They might be right, you know. Shan, only if there were no slugs in the water bucket. Yeah, well, there's no slugs in this. It's right out of the well. Yeah. Jeff says, we love your work and programs, Larry. Get well and beat this thing. We're going to try it. Carrie says, don't rush to come back. Well, I'm not going to do that because I've got a wife that won't let that happen. And I won't push it too hard. I know I don't want to go back to the hospital. I just want this one-shot deal, okay? Go in there, do it. I mean, heck, we'll take my 3.5-hour nap and come out and go, oh, that hurts. That hurts so much. Today we did that. I don't know. I know several of you have gotten tested for the COVID-19, and that's a party. That is a party. You know, we were in line, and the gal comes out, and we had a scheduled time and everything. And we stayed in your car. And she says, Larry, she says, I'm really good at this because I have to stick this long Q-tip. I mean, long, it's long. Way up in your nose, up into your sinuses. I said, okay. And I get to not only do it once, but I get to do it twice. I said, oh, well, you know, I told her, well, at least I don't have to pee in a cup. I said, I don't have to do that. So she was right. She shoved that one up there, and it got my attention. She says, you want a minute to take? No, I don't want a minute to gather my thoughts. Do it again. I don't want it. And, you know, so here we are leaving. It makes you cry a little bit, you know. I don't know if anybody else had that, but it's clear up in your sinuses and you feel in the back of your throat. No, it's just, it feels like they hit your brain, Shannon says. Yeah, I mean, it's. Oh, God. But it's, you know, I have something to talk about. But I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching our program. We're gonna fight this deal. We're gonna fight it. They don't know who they're messing with. I'll stick my baboon on them, and we're gonna fight it. And I'm gonna be back. And Dustin says, Annabelle's been praying for you at the supper table each night. My gosh. Oh, that one hit. Thank you, Annabelle. That one, yeah. And if you want to see the lovely Annabelle, she is beautiful. Good at Footer's Forum and with her Bigfoot stuff, and she's just the cutest. And yeah. Perry said they scratched his brain for him. I know what it feels like. Oh, it's and I called my son in New York right after that, so it was like I said, man, he says I've heard it's so what somebody called it torture. But luckily my luckily my gal knew how to do it. She knew how to do it right. Yeah, I love you too, Shannon. Jeff, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. You didn't even know it was itchy. Oh, Perry, gotta love Perry. What a sense of humor. Man, he's had a tough row, and he's still, you know, he's got it. He's got it. We all have it. But I want everybody to have a really nice weekend. Think about me on Tuesday. It'll be okay. I know it's going to be all right. Oh, wait a minute. We're not leaving yet because Michael Moran has a quick question here. And I have another quick question about Bigfoot. Have you ever smelled the odor when they are near? Yeah, I have. Kind of like Dale, when you think it's kind of like rotten poultry and maybe rotten cauliflower kind of put together. Now, if you've never smelled rotten poultry, well, it will get your attention. And if you've never had the chance to get the waif of rotten cauliflower, that will get your attention too. Michelle says prayers for a positive outcome and smooth recovery. You got it. Well, we're not going to do anything any less. That's just it. No, nothing else. Ditto, Shannon says. But have a wonderful weekend. You know, it's been a tough summer, or a tough year so far. It's going to be a difficult summer. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of thinking to do. We've got a lot of change, a lot of way of people thinking. And we've got to do one thing is learn to respect our brothers, our neighbors, our friends, our acquaintances. Love each and every one of them. This is Larry the Animal Guy, broadcasting from the remote jungles of Clinton Falls, Indiana. I'll talk to you real soon right here on Facebook Live.